Have you ever chased after someone who keeps running away? Every time you try to get closer, they pull back, disappearing into the shadows, only to return later as if nothing ever happened. If so, you might be dealing with a toxic avoidant. Someone who fears intimacy but craves your pursuit. They play a sophisticated psychological game, pulling you in, then pushing you away, leaving you confused, disoriented, and wondering what you did wrong. But today I will help you flip the script. I'm Jim Rohn, and in this video, I'll reveal how emotionally strong individuals not only break free from an avoidance manipulative game, but also make them regret leaving. No begging, no convincing. Just by understanding psychology, mastering yourself, and knowing how to act at the right moment. If you've ever felt trapped in an unstable relationship, or if you want to reclaim your power and build a life that others regret losing, then don't go anywhere. This video could change the way you see love, attachment, and yourself. Before we begin, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss content that helps you become stronger, more confident, and emotionally resilient in all your relationship. Now, let's explore how to never get caught in the toxic avoidance cycle again. Now, let's dive into the psychology of the avoidant to understand why they behave this way and how you can take back control in this relationship. They continuously play a game of emotional hide-and-seek, disappearing when you get close, creating distance, and waiting for you to rush in and fill the gap. They push you away, yet deep inside they hope you will pull them back. Why? Because it gives them a sense of control. But it's not the kind of control that seeks to dominate or manipulate others. It's a defense mechanism to protect themselves from the fear of being hurt. From past experiences, they've learned that intimacy comes with risks. To them, the closer they get, the more vulnerable they become, so they've conditioned themselves with a reflex to withdraw before they have a chance to be hurt. But here's the biggest paradox. They don't run because they lack feelings. They run because their feelings are too intense. Ironically, they crave love but cannot hold on to it. They long for connection but unconsciously sabotage it. And to shield themselves from this fear, they convince themselves of a lie that the person they are leaving behind is not worth holding on to. This is the trap that many people, especially those with anxious attachment tendencies, fall into. They believe that if they love deeply enough, sacrifice enough, and persist long enough, the avoidant will recognize their love and change. But this is where the game becomes unfair. Because the moment you chase, you unknowingly reinforce the avoidance fears. That intimacy is a burden, that love is an obligation, and that the only way to feel safe is to maintain distance. But what if you refuse to play this game? This is the turning point. From passive to proactive, from dependent to emotionally secure. A strong-minded person doesn't cling or try to prove their worth. They don't beg, they don't chase, and they don't seek validation from anyone. Instead, they do the exact opposite. They mirror the avoidance energy. If the avoidant steps back, they do the same. They don't try to pull them back or knock on a closed door. They simply communicate through their attitude and actions. I respect your distance. If you withdraw, I will do the same. And in that very moment, everything changes. The avoidant, who is used to being pursued, suddenly finds themselves standing alone. Their strategy no longer works. They wait for you to rush in as always, but this time no one does. And the only thing left between the two of you is silence. Silence for an avoidant is not just an empty space, but a mirror reflecting themselves. It forces them to face the choice they made, to confront the reality that the person they once believed would always be there is no longer waiting. They are used to being chased, used to the other person trying to close the gap they created. They expect reassurance, recognition, unconditional commitment. But this time there is nothing, and it is precisely this nothing that confuses them the most. In psychology, there is a phenomenon called cognitive dissonance, the discomfort one feels when realizing their actions do not align with the beliefs they have always held. A toxic avoidant operates with a clear belief system. Love is a trap. If someone truly loves me, they will never stop pursuing me. But this time they ran, and no one chased. A paradox emerges. If love is truly a trap, why isn't the other person trying to hold on to them? If they were right to leave, why does the absence of the other person make them feel so uneasy? And at that moment, regret starts creeping into their mind. The non-reaction of an emotionally strong person creates an undercurrent in the avoidant psyche. They no longer see the other as clingy or weak, but slowly realize that this person has real value, a value that, perhaps, they have just lost. Questions begin to surface. Did I make a mistake? Were they not as invested in this relationship as I thought? Have I lost something precious that I can never get back? And once the mind falls into this spiral of doubt, the game is over. But let me be clear, this is not manipulation. A strong person does not withdraw to make the avoidant feel regret. They withdraw because they value themselves too much to chase after someone who does not appreciate them. And it is precisely this self-respect that shakes the very foundation of the avoidant. A person who understands their own worth does not waste time chasing after those who fail to see it. They do not trade their self-respect for validation or to hold on to an unhealthy relationship. They do not stand quietly at the doorway, hoping that one day someone will come back. Instead of endlessly seeking validation from others, they invest in themselves. They build their careers, pursue their passions, and cultivate meaningful relationships with those who truly value them. They create a life filled with purpose, a life that does not revolve around the one who left, but rather around their own growth and fulfillment. And then, when the avoidant finally looks back, they are met with a harsh reality. No one is waiting for them anymore. That is the moment regret begins to consume them. Almost inevitably, one day the emptiness inside the avoidant will become too overwhelming to ignore. The silence, which they once believed to be a shield, now turns into torment. And then, in a moment of nostalgia, a message appears. Hesitant, testing the waters. Hey, how have you been? And this is the final test. The strong-minded person does not rush to grasp at this emotional fragment. They do not reward disappearance with a hasty reaction or easy forgiveness. Instead, they pause and ask themselves, has this person truly changed, or is this just the same cycle repeating? Do they add value to my life, or do they continue to bring chaos? Am I willing to step into this again, knowing what I now know? And this time, the answer no longer depends on the avoidant. It belongs entirely to them. The core goal is not to make the avoidant feel regret or want to return. That is not the objective. The real goal is to become so strong, whole, and grounded that their return or absence no longer matters. There is a paradox in painful relationships. You cannot win a game that should not exist in the first place. When you chase an avoidant, you are not only entering an endless pursuit, but also losing yourself in the process. Strong individuals do not win by playing better. They win by refusing to play at all. A healthy relationship is not a battle to earn love or validation. If you have to constantly prove your worth, cling to someone, or sacrifice your self-respect to be loved, then that is not love. That is dependency. And this dependency is exactly what the avoidant unconsciously desires. They want you caught in the cycle of waiting, longing, and pursuit, because it gives them a sense of control. But when you step out of this game, you reclaim the real control over yourself. Power in a relationship does not come from how long you can keep someone or how much you can make them regret. It comes from choice. The choice to love yourself even when someone else does not choose you. This does not mean you do not feel pain when someone leaves. But instead of resisting, trying to convince them to stay, you accept reality and focus on yourself. A strong individual does not lose themselves for someone else. They do not let a relationship define their worth. If someone cannot see their value, that is not a sign that they need to change to please them. It is a sign that they need to walk away. The avoidant may continue to disappear, to play their game, but it no longer matters because the strong individual is no longer part of it. They do not chase. They do not seek validation. They do not let someone else's silence make them anxious. They know that another person's absence does not diminish their worth. And the most surprising part? When you step out of the game, it is the avoidant who feels unsettled. They are used to having someone always there, ready to fill the gap they create. When you no longer play that role, they are forced to confront their own emptiness. They have no one left to blame, no one left to control, no one chasing after them to validate their worth. The strong individual does not win by making someone else regret. They win by building a life where even the avoidant's regret no longer matters. So now, what will you choose? Will you keep chasing someone just to prove your worth? Or will you step out of the game and stand firm on your own? In the end, the real victory is not making the avoidant regret or return. It is in finding yourself, choosing yourself, and not letting anyone else determine your worth. When you stop chasing someone, when you refuse to participate in exhausting psychological games, you take back control of your life. And that is the greatest power anyone can have. You do not need to prove your worth to anyone. You do not need to convince someone to stay. Real love is not a chase. It is a mutual choice between two people who willingly choose each other without conditions. Thank you for watching this video. If today's content has given you a new perspective, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos. I would also love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below, share your experiences, or simply tell me what resonated with you the most from this video. Have you ever been caught in the avoidance cycle? And what will you choose for yourself? Remember, you deserve a love that is whole, one that does not require chasing or proving. See you in the next video.